This lesson covers creating a PowerShell design state configuration script. I'm using the PowerShell integrated scripting environment, which I recommend as it features things like IntelliSense to help me complete the code I write. The first component to a desired state configuration is the configuration switch. So this keyword actually tells it this is part of a desired state configuration. This is actually a function. So I give a name to my new configuration, so my test file config. I then, for each node I wish to have a configuration for, I have a node block. Now I can list multiple server names in here if I wish. I can use localhost. There's even ways to use all hosts. But I can have multiple blocks for the different servers. Once I have a node block created, I then put in resource blocks. So a resource block uses some of the DSC providers. For example, I could use the Windows feature provider to say web server must be present, but I have this commented out. In my example, I'm using the file provider, and I've called it my file example. So mine says it must be present. It's of type directory instead of the default, which is file. I'm telling it to recurse all subdirectories, and then I'm specifying a source path and a destination path. So what this rule is saying is that everything in this source location should be present in the target location, and the source could be a file share, a UNC path, etc. I'm also saying write a log file. Now this will vary depending on what you want. I can use all the different types of resource available to me, all those different providers. But you would build up these configurations for the different servers you have in your environment. Once you have that and you have your configuration, you would run this. So for example, I would take this block of code I have right here and I would say run just that block. So it has now created this as a function called myTestFileConfig. And what that has actually done, if I look in my current folder, it will have actually created a folder called myTestFileConfig into which it has created a MOF file. This is actually how desired state configuration is managed and actually authored. I don't have to use PowerShell to create these. I could use an editor. For example, I can edit this file manually. And I can see here are the various rules it's invoking. These are those provided that it's calling as part of this. So you'll end up with a MOF file. So what I have right in here is I talked about those three phases. I have the authoring phase, which is what I just did in here. Once I've done that, you have the staging phase. This is when I ran that function, it created the MOF file. I have now staged it. The next part would be to actually deploy this to a server, but I will save that for the next lesson.